Hello, amazing English learners. Welcome back. Do you ever feel a little shy or not sure about yourself? Like you have great ideas but it's hard to share them? Well, guess what? Today is all about helping you feel super strong and sure of yourself. We're going to talk about 12 cool tips to make your self-confidence much, much bigger. This video isn't just for listening, it's also for practicing your English. Here's how we'll do it. First, just listen to the whole video from beginning to end. Don't worry about understanding every single word. Just try to get the main ideas. After that, we'll read everything together using the words on the screen. This will help you hear the words and see them at the same time, which is great for learning. Are you ready to feel more confident and practice your English with me? Let's start. 1. Develop self-awareness. Developing self-awareness is one of the most transformative journeys a person can undertake. It is the conscious knowledge of your own character, feelings, motives, and desires. Unlike basic awareness, which is simply the ability to perceive your surroundings, self-awareness goes deeper. It is the inner mirror that helps you observe yourself objectively. This powerful trait is at the core of emotional intelligence and personal growth. It allows you to live with intention, take responsibility for your actions, and align your behavior with your values. Without it, you operate on autopilot, reacting blindly to life's circumstances and being ruled by emotions you don't fully understand. Self-awareness begins with self-reflection. This doesn't mean simply thinking about your day, but deliberately analyzing your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. It involves asking yourself hard questions. Why do I feel this way? What triggered this emotion? Why did I react like that? These questions open the door to greater clarity. When you become aware of your emotional patterns and internal narratives, you begin to recognize how your past experiences, beliefs, and fears shape your current decisions. This awareness helps you untangle yourself from destructive cycles and become more mindful of your present choices. A key part of developing self-awareness is understanding your emotional landscape. Many people go through life feeling anger, frustration, anxiety, or sadness without stopping to identify the true root of these emotions. Instead of suppressing or ignoring them, self-awareness encourages you to name and validate them. The moment you can name your emotion, I feel rejected, I feel afraid, or I feel insecure, is the moment you gain power over it. It's no longer a hidden force driving your actions from the shadows. By recognizing your emotional responses in real time, you are able to pause, reflect, and respond intentionally instead of reacting impulsively. Another vital aspect of self-awareness is understanding your strengths and weaknesses. It takes courage to face your limitations without shame or denial. But this honesty is essential. When you know what you're good at, you can build on those skills and put them to productive use. When you acknowledge your weaknesses, you open the door to growth and improvement. Self-awareness doesn't mean being self-critical or dwelling on flaws. It means knowing yourself deeply and accepting all parts of who you are. This internal honesty fosters humility and makes you more open to feedback and learning from others. The role of self-awareness in decision-making is profound. Every day, you're faced with choices, some small, some life-changing. Self-awareness gives you the clarity to make decisions that reflect your true goals and values, rather than being driven by fleeting emotions or social pressure. You begin to notice when your actions are out of alignment with your ideals, and this discomfort prompts you to course correct. Over time, this habit of conscious decision-making builds a life that feels more authentic and fulfilling. Self-awareness also enhances relationships. When you understand your own needs, triggers, and communication style, you're better equipped to engage with others in a healthy way. You're more likely to listen actively, express yourself clearly, and avoid projecting your insecurities onto others. You become less reactive and more empathetic because you can see how your internal world affects the way you interpret others' behavior. This creates deeper trust, respect, and intimacy in both personal and professional relationships. Developing self-awareness is not a one-time achievement, it is an ongoing practice. It requires stillness in a noisy world, and patience in a culture that rewards speed and superficiality. Practices like journaling, meditation, therapy, and mindfulness can help you build this inner muscle. These activities give you a structured way to explore your inner world, spot recurring patterns, and track your growth over time. Even simply taking 5 minutes at the end of each day to ask yourself, "What did I learn about myself today?" can make a profound difference over time. However, true self-awareness also involves confronting uncomfortable truths. You may discover that some of your motivations are rooted in fear, ego, or the need for approval. You may realize you've been blaming others for things you need to take responsibility for. These revelations can sting, but they are also liberating. They give you the opportunity to make new choices, to change, to evolve, to rewrite your story. When you are no longer afraid to look within, you become free. It is also important to distinguish between introspection and overthinking. Healthy self-awareness is constructive, leading to insight and growth. But excessive rumination can become a trap, keeping you stuck in self-doubt and guilt. 2. Practice self-discipline. Practicing self-discipline is one of the most powerful ways to take control of your life. It is the inner strength that allows you to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. It's the quiet force behind every great success story, the ability to stay committed to your goals, push through discomfort, and resist distractions or temptations that try to pull you off course. While motivation can come and go like the weather, self-discipline is the steady fire that keeps burning even in the coldest seasons of life. It's not about being rigid or robotic, but about consistently choosing long-term gain over short-term pleasure. Self-discipline begins with understanding your deeper why. It's easy to say you want to be healthier, wealthier, or more focused, but without a compelling reason, those goals remain hollow. You need to be honest with yourself about what truly matters to you. What kind of person do you want to become? What values do you want your actions to reflect? When your discipline is rooted in a meaningful purpose, it becomes easier to say no to distractions and yes to the effort that progress demands. The more connected you are to your future vision, the more power you gain to act in alignment with it, even when the process feels tiring or repetitive. Developing self-discipline also requires mastering the art of delay. In a world obsessed with instant gratification, the ability to delay pleasure is a rare and valuable skill. It means choosing to study instead of scrolling, to exercise instead of sleeping in, to save instead of spending. Each time you delay gratification, you build mental toughness. You prove to yourself that your desires do not control you, that you can act with intention instead of impulse. This repeated resistance creates a strong inner core, and the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. Eventually, discipline turns into habit, and what once felt like a struggle begins to feel like second nature. The foundation of self-discipline lies in consistency, not intensity. It's not about making massive changes overnight or relying on bursts of energy. True discipline is built in the small, unglamorous moments: waking up on time, showing up every day, following through on promises you made to yourself. These moments may not feel dramatic, but they compound over time. Just like a muscle grows through steady resistance, self-discipline strengthens each time you choose structure over chaos, order over laziness, commitment over excuse. It's less about how much you do in one day and more about what you do every day, even when nobody's watching. Practicing discipline also means setting clear boundaries, both with yourself and others. It means creating an environment that supports your goals and limits distractions. This might involve setting time limits on social media, organizing your workspace, creating routines, or distancing yourself from people or habits that lead you astray. It's about being proactive, not reactive. When you create systems that reduce friction, you give yourself fewer chances to fail. And when you fall, because everyone does, you don't abandon the path. Discipline is also about resilience, getting back up when you slip, without shame or drama, and continuing forward with determination. Another important part of self-discipline is learning how to manage your emotions. Often, the urge to quit or indulge comes not from a lack of ability, but from emotional discomfort, boredom, anxiety, fear, frustration. Instead of seeking relief through distractions, the disciplined person faces these emotions head-on. They learn to sit with discomfort without trying to escape it. They develop emotional endurance, the strength to stay calm and committed even when things feel uncertain. This gives them an incredible edge, because they are not controlled by their moods. They do what's necessary, not just what's convenient. There will be times when practicing discipline feels like a lonely path. You may not receive applause. You may even be misunderstood. Others might see you as too strict, too obsessed, too serious. But discipline isn't about impressing others, it's about honoring yourself. It's the ultimate form of self-respect, choosing to act in your own best interest even when it's hard. The satisfaction that comes from keeping a promise to yourself is deeper and more fulfilling than any temporary pleasure. With each disciplined choice, you gain self-trust, and that trust becomes a solid foundation for confidence and courage. It's also essential to know that self-discipline doesn't mean being harsh or unforgiving. It's not about punishing yourself when you fall short or holding yourself to impossible standards. It means being firm but kind, focused but flexible. It's about having the maturity to adjust your plan when life changes, without giving up on your goals. Progress is not always linear, and discipline doesn't require perfection, it only requires persistence. The key is to show up every day, even if you're tired, even if you failed yesterday, even if progress is slow. With time, the results begin to show, and they speak louder than any words. At its core, practicing self-discipline is about freedom. It may sound like a paradox, but discipline doesn't limit your life, it expands it. It frees you from the chaos of inconsistency, from the regret of procrastination, from the disappointment of broken promises. It gives you the power to build a life that reflects your highest potential, not your lowest urges. It gives you control, not just over your schedule or habits, but over your destiny. With discipline, you become the author of your life, not a passive character in someone else's script. So, when you choose to practice self-discipline, you are choosing greatness in small, repeated steps. You are choosing to honor your future self, to rise above your impulses, and to live with purpose. It won't always be easy, but it will always be worth it. Because discipline doesn't just change your results, it changes who you become. And who you become, in the end, is the greatest reward of all. 3. Speak with confidence. Speaking with confidence is a powerful skill that can completely transform the way you are perceived and the impact you have on others. It is not about being the loudest person in the room or dominating conversations, it's about expressing yourself clearly, calmly, and with conviction. When you speak with confidence, people listen. Your words carry more weight, your presence commands more respect, and your ideas are taken more seriously. Confidence in communication opens doors, builds trust, and enhances both personal and professional relationships. It is one of the most essential abilities for leadership, influence, and self-advocacy. The journey to confident speaking begins within. Before your voice ever reaches the world, it echoes first in your mind. What you believe about yourself directly affects how you express yourself. If you think your words don't matter, you'll speak timidly. If you assume others know more than you, you'll hold back. Speaking with confidence starts by valuing your own thoughts and trusting that they are worth sharing. It's about giving yourself permission to take up space with your voice. You don't need to be perfect to speak confidently. You need to believe that your perspective is valid, even if it's still evolving, and that your voice matters just as much as anyone else's. Overcoming fear is another critical part of developing vocal confidence. Many people are held back by a deep fear of judgment, fear of saying the wrong thing, of being laughed at, misunderstood, or rejected. These fears are often rooted in past experiences where they felt silenced or ridiculed. To speak confidently, you must confront and release these inner blocks. You must accept that everyone makes mistakes, and that perfection is not the goal, connection is. Even the most eloquent speakers stumble on their words sometimes. What sets them apart is that they keep going. They don't let a slip-up define their worth. Confidence means embracing your humanity and communicating anyway, even if your voice shakes at first. Clarity is another pillar of confident speaking. When your thoughts are organized, your speech becomes more effective. Rambling, hesitating, or trailing off makes you appear unsure, even if your ideas are brilliant. That's why preparation is so important. When you know what you want to say, you can focus less on the fear of speaking and more on the message itself. Taking time to think through your ideas, organize your points, and understand your audience helps you speak with more precision and purpose. Your body language plays a major role in how confident you appear and feel. Before you even open your mouth, your posture, gestures, and facial expressions communicate a message. Standing tall, maintaining eye contact, using open hand movements, and controlling your breath all signal self-assurance. These physical cues don't just influence others, they influence your own brain. Numerous studies have shown that confident posture can actually make you feel more confident. When your body aligns with your intention, your voice follows. Practicing power poses, deep breathing, and grounded gestures can help regulate nervous energy and bring calm authority to your speech. Voice control is another crucial element. Speaking too softly or in a monotone can undermine your message, even if your content is strong. Practice projecting your voice, not shouting, but speaking from your diaphragm so your words carry. Vary your tone, emphasize key points, and pause intentionally. Pauses are especially powerful. They give your listener time to absorb your message and show that you are in control of the conversation. Silence, when used effectively, speaks volumes. It reflects confidence in your words and patience in your delivery. Don't rush, pace yourself. Confident speakers don't chase validation with hurried speech. They trust their rhythm. Confidence also comes from experience. You don't become a powerful speaker overnight. It takes repetition, exposure, and the willingness to fail forward. Every time you speak up in a meeting, answer a question, share your opinion, or present in front of others, you're building a skill. Even casual conversations are opportunities to practice clarity, articulation, and presence. The more you speak, the more you refine your voice. Don't wait until you feel confident to start speaking to build your confidence. Each small success compounds. Over time, your voice will no longer tremble, your thoughts will no longer scatter, and you'll no longer feel the need to shrink when it's your turn to talk. One of the greatest shifts in speaking confidently is learning to focus on your message rather than on yourself. Many people freeze because they are hyper-aware of how they're coming across. They become trapped in self-consciousness, do I sound stupid? Are they judging me, but when you shift your attention to the importance of what you're saying, how it might help, inspire, or inform others, you step out of fear and into service. You stop performing and start connecting. Confidence flows when the ego steps aside and the message takes center stage. It's also important to surround yourself with environments that encourage your voice. Some spaces are naturally supportive, while others are more judgmental or dismissive. Seek out opportunities to speak in front of people who want you to succeed. Join clubs, attend workshops, start conversations with strangers, or even practice in front of a mirror. Record yourself, watch it back, and notice what works and what doesn't. This feedback loop, without harsh self-criticism, can be incredibly effective. With time, the hesitation will fade, and your voice will begin to reflect the strength that has always lived inside you. In the end, speaking with confidence is not about being the smartest, the funniest, or the most charismatic person in the room. It's about authenticity. It's about having the courage to share your truth, even when it feels vulnerable. It's about speaking with intention, listening deeply, and standing behind your words. It is the ability to express who you are without apology, to articulate your ideas with grace and strength, and to navigate the world with your voice as your compass. Once you claim your voice, everything changes. You step into rooms differently. You command more respect. You influence more lives. And most importantly, you begin to hear yourself, not with doubt, but with pride. 4. Cultivate emotional intelligence. Cultivating emotional intelligence is one of the most life-enhancing decisions you can make. It's the ability to understand, manage, and express your own emotions while also being able to recognize, respond to, and influence the emotions of others. Emotional intelligence is not about suppressing your feelings or becoming emotionally detached, it's about becoming fluent in the language of emotion, learning how to regulate it wisely, and using it to build better relationships, make sound decisions, and navigate life with clarity and compassion. In a world where technical skills alone are no longer enough, emotional intelligence stands out as a defining trait of successful, fulfilled individuals. The process of developing emotional intelligence begins with self-awareness. You cannot manage what you do not first recognize. This means becoming deeply in tune with your emotional responses, your thought patterns, and your internal reactions to various situations. Instead of brushing aside emotions like anger, fear, jealousy, or sadness, emotional intelligence invites you to pause and observe them. You begin to ask yourself questions like, what am I feeling right now? Where is this coming from, and is my reaction truly aligned with the reality of the moment? These questions don't just bring clarity, they bring power. The more you understand your own emotional triggers, the less you are controlled by them. Once you have developed awareness, the next step is emotional regulation. Emotions, by nature, are temporary and often intense. But without the ability to regulate them, they can lead to destructive behavior, impulsive decisions, or damaged relationships. Emotional intelligence does not mean denying how you feel, it means learning how to feel without falling apart. It means breathing through your anger instead of lashing out, calming your anxiety instead of freezing in fear, expressing your sadness without drowning in it. This emotional discipline allows you to remain calm under pressure, think before reacting, and show up with maturity and composure, even in tense situations. Empathy is another core pillar of emotional intelligence. It's the ability to step into another person's emotional world and understand what they're going through, even if their experience is different from your own. This skill allows you to connect deeply with others, to listen without judgment, and to respond with kindness. Empathy isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It allows you to de-escalate conflict, build trust, and offer genuine support. In a world where many people feel unseen and unheard, your ability to truly get someone, to validate their emotions and make them feel safe, is an extraordinary gift. And the more empathetic you become, the more connected, respected, and influential you grow. Cultivating emotional intelligence also strengthens your social skills. Whether in a conversation, a team meeting, or a conflict, emotionally intelligent people know how to communicate effectively. They know how to read nonverbal cues, adjust their tone based on the situation, and choose their words with care. They don't just speak, they connect. They handle disagreements without letting ego take over. They offer feedback without shaming others. They know how to inspire, collaborate, and lead because they understand what motivates people. Strong social intelligence isn't about being extroverted or charismatic, it's about being attuned, respectful, and adaptable. Another important benefit of emotional intelligence is its impact on decision-making. While logic plays a crucial role in our choices, emotions also influence every decision we make. When you lack emotional awareness, you may make decisions impulsively, driven by fear, resentment, or insecurity. But when you cultivate emotional intelligence, you become skilled at separating temporary emotion from long-term truth. You learn how to acknowledge what you feel without letting it cloud your judgment. You begin to trust your intuition without being ruled by it. This emotional clarity leads to wiser, more grounded decisions that serve your goals rather than sabotage them. Resilience is also born from emotional intelligence. Life will challenge you. People will disappoint you. Plans will fall apart. But with emotional intelligence, you gain the ability to bend without breaking. You learn how to process pain in healthy ways, how to move through failure without losing faith in yourself, and how to keep showing up even when things get hard. You develop emotional endurance. Not because you're numb to emotion, but because you've learned how to hold it without being crushed by it. This inner strength becomes a source of quiet confidence and stability in a chaotic world. Importantly, cultivating emotional intelligence is a lifelong journey. It is not something you master once and never revisit, it's a daily practice. Every interaction, every conflict, every challenge is a chance to become more emotionally aware, more compassionate, more in control of your reactions. It's about being humble enough to reflect, to apologize when necessary, to admit when your emotions got the better of you. It's also about celebrating the moments when you stayed calm, when you responded with love, when you lifted someone else up with your understanding. These small victories accumulate into a powerful emotional legacy. What makes emotional intelligence so vital is that it enhances every area of your life. It makes you a better partner, a better parent, a better leader, a better friend. It allows you to navigate difficult conversations with grace. It helps you avoid emotional burnout. It improves your mental health because you're no longer bottling up your feelings or letting them spiral unchecked. It builds stronger teams, deeper friendships, and more peaceful inner worlds. It gives you the rare ability to remain kind and strong at the same time, a balance that changes everything. Ultimately, cultivating emotional intelligence means stepping into a higher version of yourself. It means being emotionally present, mentally wise, and socially aware. It means replacing reactivity with reflection, judgment with curiosity, and distance with empathy. It means no longer being a slave to your emotions, but a master of them. In doing so, you don't just improve your communication or decision-making, you change how you experience life. You begin to live with more peace, more connection, more meaning. And the world, in turn, responds to you not with resistance, but with respect. 5. Maintain a positive attitude. Maintaining a positive attitude is one of the most empowering and transformative habits you can cultivate. It is not about pretending that everything is perfect or denying the existence of problems, it's about choosing to approach life with optimism, resilience, and hope, even when faced with challenges. A positive attitude shapes the way you think, speak, act, and respond to the world. It influences your energy, your relationships, your ability to cope with stress, and even your physical health. It is a mental habit that, when practiced consistently, becomes a lens through which you experience life in a brighter, more constructive way. A positive attitude begins with your mindset, the thoughts you entertain, and the way you interpret the world around you. Life constantly presents you with situations that can be viewed either as opportunities or as obstacles. Two people may face the exact same challenge, yet one crumbles under pressure while the other grows stronger. The difference lies not in the situation, but in the attitude. When you maintain a positive mindset, you train yourself to look for solutions instead of problems, to focus on what you can control rather than what you cannot, and to learn from adversity rather than be defeated by it. It's the conscious choice to see setbacks as stepping stones rather than as walls. One of the most powerful aspects of a positive attitude is how it influences your inner dialogue. The way you speak to yourself, especially in difficult moments, determines your emotional resilience. Negative self-talk, statements like "I'm not good enough," "this always happens to me," or "I'll never get through this," drains your motivation and darkens your perspective. But when you shift that internal dialogue to one of encouragement and support, you start building mental strength. Phrases like "I can handle this," "this is tough, but it's temporary," or "I'll figure it out" can completely transform how you feel. This doesn't mean you lie to yourself, it means you become your own source of hope instead of your own source of fear. Maintaining a positive attitude also requires practicing gratitude. it's easy to get overwhelmed by what's missing, what's wrong, or what's unfair. But when you regularly reflect on what's going well, on what you do have, and on the simple blessings of everyday life, your emotional landscape begins to shift. Gratitude doesn't erase hardship, but it balances your view. It reminds you that no matter how difficult things become, there is always something to appreciate: a kind word, a warm meal, a lesson learned, a moment of peace. When you cultivate the habit of appreciation, positivity becomes less of a struggle and more of a natural state. Another vital part of maintaining a positive attitude is your environment. The people you surround yourself with, the media you consume, the conversations you engage in, all of these shape your mental atmosphere. If you're constantly around negativity, gossip, and pessimism, it becomes harder to stay hopeful. But when you engage with uplifting people, inspiring content, and meaningful dialogue, your energy stays elevated. You don't have to cut everyone off, but you do need to protect your peace. Being selective about what you allow into your mind is not selfish, it's smart. Positivity is contagious, and surrounding yourself with it makes it easier to sustain your own. Adopting a positive attitude also means developing emotional maturity. Life will inevitably bring pain, loss, failure, and disappointment. A positive person doesn't deny these things, they learn to carry them with grace. They acknowledge their emotions, but they don't let those emotions dictate their entire outlook. They understand that a bad moment doesn't mean a bad life. This kind of mental resilience allows them to bounce back faster, find meaning in hardship, and keep moving forward. They don't allow temporary circumstances to steal their long-term joy. Your attitude also has a direct impact on your relationships. People are naturally drawn to those who radiate warmth, hope, and positivity. When you maintain a positive outlook, you bring light into other people's lives. You lift them up instead of weighing them down. You listen with empathy, speak with kindness, and handle conflicts with calm. This doesn't mean you're always cheerful or fake happiness, it means you show up with presence and perspective. Positive people don't ignore problems, but they address them constructively. They become a stabilizing force, especially during chaos. Their energy creates a ripple effect that influences everyone around them. A positive attitude can also enhance your productivity and creativity. When you believe that challenges can be overcome, your mind stays open to new possibilities. You are more likely to try, to innovate, and to persist. Negativity closes doors before they've even been opened, while positivity keeps curiosity alive. It keeps you engaged, motivated, and focused on what can be done instead of what can't. Over time, this mindset leads to greater achievement, not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger and more solution-oriented. Your attitude fuels your actions, and your actions shape your results. Maintaining a positive attitude is a practice, not a personality trait. Some people may seem naturally upbeat, but the truth is that positivity is a choice, a daily commitment to hope, resilience, and growth. Some days, that choice will come easily. Other days, it will feel like a battle. But every time you choose to look for the good, to believe in better, to speak life into your situation, you strengthen that mental muscle. It's a discipline, just like physical fitness. And the more you train it, the more naturally it flows, even in hard times. Ultimately, maintaining a positive attitude is not about being unrealistic or naive. It's about being grounded enough to face reality with courage, but hopeful enough to believe in your power to influence it. It's about becoming a source of light in your own life and in the lives of others. When you choose positivity, you don't just improve your mood, you elevate your entire existence. You create a mindset that is resilient, joyful, and unstoppable. And in doing so, you discover that while you cannot always control what happens around you, you can always control how you rise to meet it. 6. Embrace responsibility. Embracing responsibility is one of the most liberating and empowering choices a person can make. It is the decision to take ownership of your life, your actions, your decisions, and their consequences. It means standing at the center of your reality and declaring that you are not a victim of circumstance, but a creator of outcomes. Responsibility is not a burden, it is a mark of maturity, strength, and personal freedom. When you embrace responsibility, you step out of blame, excuses, and denial, and into a space of growth, progress, and self-respect. It is the foundation upon which real success and lasting fulfillment are built. To embrace responsibility is to acknowledge that your life is, to a large extent, shaped by your choices. While it's true that we don't control everything that happens to us, we do control how we respond. We choose our attitude. We choose whether to take action or stay passive. We choose whether to complain or to create solutions. People who avoid responsibility tend to feel powerless, stuck, or dependent on others to fix their problems. But when you shift your mindset and start taking ownership of your time, your habits, your emotions, your relationships, you gain back your personal power. You stop waiting for someone else to change things. You become the one who takes initiative. Taking responsibility also means owning your mistakes. This can be uncomfortable, because it often means admitting when you were wrong, when you let someone down, or when you failed to meet a standard you set for yourself. But growth never happens without truth. When you take responsibility for your errors without excuses, you open the door to learning. You give yourself the opportunity to improve, to do better next time, to earn trust, and to build character. Responsible people do not see mistakes as a reflection of their worth, they see them as stepping stones on the path to wisdom. Instead of running from failure, they use it as fuel for self-development. Responsibility extends beyond personal actions, it also involves how you impact others. To embrace responsibility is to recognize that your words, behaviors, and decisions affect the people around you. It means showing up with integrity, being dependable, keeping your promises, and being someone others can count on. This doesn't mean being perfect, but it does mean being intentional. You take responsibility not only for your intentions, but for your impact. You hold yourself accountable, even when it's inconvenient. You don't blame others for your reactions, and you don't shift responsibility onto them to soothe your ego. You lead with ownership, not entitlement. Responsibility is also tied to discipline and consistency. You don't just commit to something when it's easy or exciting, you stay the course when it's hard, boring, or frustrating. Whether it's your health, your work, your goals, or your relationships, embracing responsibility means doing what needs to be done, even when motivation fades. You understand that your future is shaped by your present decisions. You don't outsource your growth or leave it up to chance. You plan, you act, you follow through. Responsible people don't rely on external forces to push them, they are internally driven, fueled by purpose and principle. Another powerful layer of responsibility lies in emotional ownership. This means recognizing that you are responsible for how you feel and how you act on those feelings. No one can make you angry, bitter, or insecure. You are the one interpreting the situation and choosing your response. Emotional responsibility empowers you to take control of your inner world. You stop expecting others to fix you, validate you, or protect you from discomfort. Instead, you develop the maturity to sit with your feelings, work through them, and grow from them. This doesn't mean ignoring your emotions, but owning them fully and choosing how to express them in ways that build, rather than break. Embracing responsibility also brings freedom, the kind of freedom that can't be taken away. When you stop blaming others, you take back control. You are no longer at the mercy of external circumstances. You don't have to wait for someone else to give you permission to act, to grow, or to change. You become the author of your life's narrative. You don't wait for life to happen, you shape it. And when things go wrong, instead of wallowing in helplessness, you ask, what can I do to move forward? This mindset builds resilience, confidence, and an unshakable sense of self-worth. The responsible person also accepts that with great freedom comes great duty. You begin to care not just about yourself, but about how your life contributes to the world. You start asking questions like, what am I doing with my time? Am I living in alignment with my values? How can I serve, create, or lead? Responsibility becomes less about tasks and more about purpose. You start making decisions that reflect your long-term vision, not just your short-term comfort. You recognize that your life matters, that your choices matter, and that you have a role to play in something bigger than yourself. Embracing responsibility is not always glamorous. It means doing the hard thing when it's easier to avoid it. It means facing consequences instead of running from them. It means taking ownership even when no one is watching. But the rewards are immense. You become more grounded, more respected, and more in control. You start to trust yourself more deeply. You begin to see challenges not as obstacles but as opportunities to prove your strength and build your character. Life becomes more meaningful because it is no longer something that happens to you, it becomes something you actively shape. In the end, embracing responsibility is an act of courage. It is the decision to stop hiding, stop blaming, and stop waiting. It is the moment you step forward and say, "This is my life. I will own it." From this place of ownership, anything becomes possible: growth, healing, achievement, transformation. Because the truth is, nothing changes until you do. But once you embrace responsibility, you unlock the door to your highest potential. And from that moment on, you no longer live by default, you live by design. 7. Set clear goals. Setting clear goals is one of the most essential steps toward creating a life of purpose, direction, and achievement. Without clear goals, you drift through life reacting to circumstances rather than intentionally shaping your path. Goals provide focus. They give your energy a target, your time a structure, and your actions a deeper meaning. They act like a compass, guiding your choices, filtering your distractions, and helping you measure your progress. When you set clear goals, you transform your hopes and dreams from vague wishes into actionable blueprints. You stop leaving your future to chance and start building it deliberately, one step at a time. Clarity is the foundation of effective goal setting. Vague intentions like "I want to be successful," "I want to get healthier," or "I want to be happier" may sound good, but they're too broad to lead to consistent action. A clear goal defines exactly what you want, why you want it, and how you plan to achieve it. It turns abstract desires into specific outcomes. Instead of "I want to get in shape," you define, "I will lose 10 kilograms in the next 90 days by exercising 5 times a week and following a structured meal plan." This level of precision eliminates confusion, increases motivation, and gives you a standard by which to evaluate your progress. Setting clear goals also builds self-accountability. When you write down what you're aiming for, you create a commitment. It's no longer just an idea floating in your mind, it becomes a promise to yourself. That promise fuels discipline. It helps you resist short-term distractions because you're now anchored to a long-term vision. You begin to ask better questions every day. Does this action bring me closer to my goal or further away? When you live with goals, you stop wasting time on things that don't matter, and you start aligning your habits, routines, and decisions with your desired outcome. Effective goals not only need to be clear but also meaningful. They must connect with your values, passions, and purpose. A goal that lacks emotional connection will not survive moments of struggle. That's why it's crucial to ask yourself why you want what you want. If your goal is to start a business, ask yourself if it's driven by a love for solving problems, a desire for freedom, or a calling to make an impact. When your goals are deeply rooted in your core values, they ignite a powerful inner fire. That fire sustains you during the inevitable setbacks and keeps you moving forward when motivation alone isn't enough. Another powerful aspect of goal setting is the sense of momentum it creates. Progress, no matter how small, creates motivation. When you break big goals into smaller, manageable milestones, you experience a sense of achievement more frequently. This fuels confidence and keeps you engaged. You realize that big transformations are simply the result of consistent small wins. One workout at a time, one chapter at a time, one disciplined day at a time, you start to see that success is not magical or distant. It's the result of showing up with purpose, again and again. Each milestone becomes proof that you are capable, and each step forward makes the next step easier. Setting goals also allows you to manage your resources more wisely. Your time, energy, money, and attention are limited. When you have a clear goal, you know where to invest these resources for the greatest return. You stop saying yes to everything and start becoming more intentional. You learn how to prioritize, how to delegate, and how to say no to what doesn't serve your vision. This clarity simplifies your life. It gives you direction amidst chaos, structure in uncertainty, and control in a world full of distractions. You become more efficient, more focused, and more empowered because you know what you're working toward and why it matters. Goals also help you measure growth. Without goals, it's hard to know whether you're moving forward or standing still. But when you set benchmarks and timelines, you create a feedback loop. You can evaluate what's working, what's not, and where you need to adjust. This self-assessment turns goal setting into a process of learning, not just achieving. It builds resilience, because failure becomes information rather than identity. If you fall short, you don't give up, you adapt. Clear goals create a structure for continuous improvement, and that improvement compounds over time. There is also a deep psychological benefit to having clear goals. Goals give you a sense of purpose, a reason to get out of bed in the morning, to push through fatigue, to endure discomfort. They remind you that your life has direction, and that you are in control of your path. In times of doubt, uncertainty, or fear, goals provide an anchor. They bring stability to your mindset and keep you grounded in what matters most. Even when everything around you feels uncertain, your goals can act as a steady guide, pulling you forward toward growth, clarity, and fulfillment. Importantly, goal setting is not about becoming rigid or obsessed with results. It's about having a vision and adapting with flexibility. Life will sometimes shift your timelines, challenge your plans, or present unexpected obstacles. But when your goals are clear, you remain adaptable without losing your direction. You learn how to pivot without quitting. You understand that clarity and flexibility are not enemies, they work together. Clear goals are not cages, they are frameworks that empower your freedom to create, explore, and evolve while still moving forward with purpose. But when your goals are clear, you remain adaptable without losing your direction. You learn how to pivot without quitting. You understand that clarity and flexibility are not enemies, they work together. Clear goals are not cages, they are frameworks that empower your freedom to create, explore, and evolve while still moving forward with purpose. In the end, setting clear goals is an act of self-respect. It is a declaration that your life is worth designing, that your time is worth protecting, and that your dreams are worth pursuing with intention. You stop living by default and start living by design. You become the architect of your future, building it not through wishful thinking but through deliberate, daily action. And as your goals become reality, you begin to experience the quiet, powerful truth that success is not accidental, it is earned by those who dare to aim with clarity and commit with consistency. 8. Read and expand your knowledge. Reading and expanding your knowledge is one of the most valuable investments you can make in yourself. It is a habit that unlocks your potential, sharpens your thinking, and opens your mind to new possibilities. Through reading, you gain access to the minds of great thinkers, innovators, leaders, and storytellers across time and space. You absorb their wisdom, learn from their mistakes, and build upon their discoveries. Expanding your knowledge is not just about gathering facts, it's about transforming your perspective, developing deeper understanding, and equipping yourself to navigate life with greater insight, creativity, and confidence. The power of reading lies in its ability to broaden your worldview. When you read widely and intentionally, you begin to see life from different angles. You learn about cultures you've never experienced, ideas you've never considered, and people you've never met. This exposure expands your empathy and deepens your understanding of the world. It challenges your assumptions, refines your beliefs, and often replaces ignorance with curiosity. You begin to realize that your current knowledge is only a tiny fragment of what's possible to know, and this realization humbles you while also motivating you to keep growing. Reading also enhances your thinking skills. The more you read, the more you improve your ability to process information, identify patterns, analyze arguments, and synthesize ideas. Your vocabulary expands, your writing improves, and your communication becomes more precise and persuasive. You start to develop mental discipline, the ability to focus for extended periods, to think critically, and to evaluate the quality of information rather than accepting everything at face value. In an age where misinformation is rampant and attention spans are shrinking, the ability to think clearly and independently is one of the greatest advantages you can possess. Knowledge is power, but only when it's applied. That's why reading with intention is key. It's not about consuming books endlessly or accumulating facts to impress others. It's about extracting value from what you read and integrating it into your life. When you read a book on productivity, Do you adjust your routines? When you read about emotional intelligence, do you apply those concepts to your relationships? When you read about health, mindset, business, history, or philosophy, do you allow those lessons to shape your choices and expand your vision? True knowledge is not just intellectual, it's practical. It changes how you live. Another profound benefit of reading and expanding your knowledge is the confidence it brings. The more you learn, the more capable you feel. You're better equipped to hold intelligent conversations, to contribute meaningfully in discussions, to solve problems creatively, and to make informed decisions. You no longer feel intimidated in rooms where big ideas are exchanged. You become a valued voice in those rooms. Confidence that stems from knowledge is quiet but powerful. It doesn't need to boast because it is grounded in substance. You become someone who knows, who understands, and who thinks deeply, and that presence is felt wherever you go. Reading also cultivates self-awareness. When you engage with powerful ideas, profound stories, and deep questions, you are often forced to reflect on your own beliefs, goals, fears, and identity. Books can act like mirrors, revealing truths you've ignored, parts of yourself you've forgotten, or dreams you've buried. They challenge you to grow. They remind you of what's possible. They help you reconnect with your inner life in a way that few other habits can. In quiet moments between the lines, you often discover more about who you are and who you're becoming. In the pursuit of knowledge, variety matters. While it's beneficial to read in your field of interest, it's equally important to step outside your comfort zone. Read fiction to develop empathy and imagination. Read history to understand patterns and gain context. Read science to sharpen logic and marvel at the universe. Read psychology to understand yourself and others. Read philosophy to stretch your mind. Read biographies to learn from real lives. Each genre opens a different window, and the more windows you look through, the more complete your understanding of the world becomes. Expanding your knowledge doesn't stop with books. We live in a time when information is more accessible than ever. Podcasts, documentaries, lectures, online courses, and articles offer a constant stream of learning opportunities. But with this access comes responsibility. You must become intentional about what you consume. Not all information is valuable or accurate. Expanding your knowledge means developing discernment. Learning how to identify credible sources, question assumptions, and seek truth over comfort. It means being a student of life, not a passive consumer of content. Making learning a lifelong habit keeps your mind young, agile, and alive. It protects you from stagnation and boredom. It gives your days a sense of progress and purpose. You begin to wake up not just to survive the day, but to learn something new, to connect new dots, to become a little wiser than you were yesterday. This growth mindset creates momentum. The more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know, and instead of being overwhelmed, you become excited. Life becomes a never-ending classroom, and that makes it richer, deeper, and more meaningful. Ultimately, reading and expanding your knowledge is about becoming the person you're capable of being. It's about unlocking the full potential of your mind and using it to improve not only your life but the lives of others. A well-read mind becomes a resource not just for personal gain, but for contribution. You become someone who can teach, inspire, support, and lead. You become someone others turn to not because you know everything, but because you never stop learning. And that quiet, consistent pursuit of knowledge sets you apart in a world full of noise. Because in the end, while trends fade and possessions lose value, the wisdom you gain through reading and learning remains with you forever. 9. Stay consistent in your values. Staying consistent in your values is one of the most defining traits of a strong, authentic, and grounded individual. In a world that constantly pushes and pulls with changing trends, shifting opinions, and external pressures, holding firmly to your core values provides clarity, stability, and direction. Values are the invisible compass that guide your decisions, shape your character, and determine the kind of life you build. When you stay consistent in your values, you become a person of integrity, a person whose words, actions, and beliefs align. This alignment creates trust, both within yourself and in the eyes of others. Your values are not just ideas, they are principles that reflect what you stand for, what you prioritize, and what you are willing to fight for. They influence how you treat people, how you manage your time, how you respond to challenges, and how you define success. Whether your values include honesty, compassion, discipline, respect, responsibility, or humility, staying true to them provides an inner foundation that can weather external chaos. You stop living reactively and start living intentionally. You no longer drift in whatever direction the world blows, you choose your direction based on what matters most to you. Consistency in values requires self-awareness and courage. It means you must know what your values are and be willing to live by them, even when it's inconvenient, unpopular, or difficult. This may mean speaking the truth when it's easier to lie, remaining kind when others are cruel, or standing up for fairness when it costs you something. It may mean choosing long-term growth over short-term pleasure, or saying no to opportunities that violate your principles. These moments test your character, but they also define it. Every time you choose your values over comfort or conformity, you strengthen your inner power and deepen your sense of self-respect. When your values are clear and consistent, decision-making becomes easier. You don't have to overthink or second-guess every choice, because your values act as a filter. You know what you will and won't tolerate, what you'll stand for, and where your boundaries lie. This clarity reduces stress, boosts confidence, and creates a deep sense of internal peace. You're not pulled in 100 directions because you've already decided what's important. You become anchored in your principles, and that anchor holds you steady even when life becomes stormy or uncertain. People are drawn to those who live with consistent values. In a world where hypocrisy and inconsistency are common, someone who lives in alignment with their beliefs stands out. They are seen as trustworthy, reliable, and authentic. Relationships become deeper and more meaningful because others know where you stand. They don't have to guess your intentions or worry about sudden changes in your behavior. Whether in friendships, business, or leadership, consistency in values builds respect. It tells people that you can be counted on, that your word means something and your actions are rooted in principle, not impulse. Being consistent in your values also nurtures your mental and emotional health. When you betray your values, whether through dishonesty, compromise, or neglect, you create internal conflict. You may feel guilt, anxiety, or a loss of self-esteem. But when you live in integrity, your inner world becomes peaceful. You sleep better, think clearer, and walk through life with a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you're being true to yourself. You don't have to wear masks or play roles because your public self and private self are one and the same. That wholeness is liberating. It's important to understand that consistency doesn't mean perfection. There will be times when you falter, when you get swept away by emotion, temptation, or fear. You may make decisions that momentarily contradict your values. What matters most is how you respond afterward. Do you reflect, take responsibility, and return to your core? Consistency is not about never failing, it's about always returning to what's true. It's about treating your values as non-negotiable pillars, not seasonal preferences. You recommit to them daily, even if you slip, and that repeated recommitment makes your character unshakable over time. Moreover, your values will be tested not only in difficult moments but also in moments of success. When you start gaining power, recognition, or wealth, will you still treat others with respect? Will you still stay humble, grateful, and grounded? True consistency shows not only in struggle but also in strength. It's easy to preach values when you're the underdog. The real test is whether you still live them when you have the upper hand. The world watches how you act when you don't have to be kind, honest, or fair, and your consistency during those moments becomes the true measure of your integrity. Your values also act as a legacy. Long after your achievements are forgotten, people will remember how you made them feel, how you lived, what you stood for, and whether you were the same person in every room. Staying consistent in your values allows you to live with honor and leave behind a reputation that inspires. Whether it's your children, your community, or those who cross your path briefly, your values have the power to influence others far beyond what you can imagine. They become your invisible fingerprints on the world, proof that you stood for something real and lasting. In the end, staying consistent in your values is not about being rigid, it's about being rooted. It's about knowing who you are and living by it, no matter what the world around you says or does. It's about living with courage, clarity, and conscience. And when you do that, life becomes simpler, more meaningful, and far more powerful. Because when everything else is uncertain, your values remain. And from that place of inner stability, you can build a life that is not only successful but truly fulfilling, one that reflects not just what you've achieved, but who you are. 10. Build strong communication skills. Building strong communication skills is a vital cornerstone for success in almost every area of life. Whether in personal relationships, professional settings, or casual interactions, the ability to express yourself clearly, listen actively, and understand others profoundly impacts how you connect, influence, and collaborate. Communication is far more than just talking. It is a dynamic exchange that involves verbal and nonverbal cues, empathy, timing, and clarity. Developing strong communication skills allows you to bridge gaps, resolve conflicts, build trust, and inspire action. It opens doors to opportunities, strengthens bonds, and enhances your overall effectiveness as a person. The foundation of strong communication lies in clarity. When you can articulate your thoughts and feelings in a straightforward and precise way, you reduce misunderstandings and create space for meaningful dialogue. Clarity involves organizing your ideas before speaking, choosing words that match your message, and avoiding unnecessary jargon or ambiguity. It also requires being mindful of your tone, pace, and volume so that your message resonates with the listener. Clear communication helps others grasp your intentions quickly and respond appropriately. It shows respect for the listener's time and attention and demonstrates your confidence and preparation. Active listening is equally important as speaking well. Communication is a two-way street. When you listen attentively, you show that you value the other person's perspective. Active listening means fully focusing on the speaker, avoiding distractions, and not planning your response while they are talking. It involves observing body language, tone, and emotional undertones to understand not just the words but the feelings behind them. Through this kind of listening, you build empathy and trust, which create a safe space for open and honest exchange. People feel heard, validated, and more willing to engage deeply when they sense your genuine attention. Nonverbal communication forms a large part of how messages are conveyed and received. Your body language, facial expressions, eye contact, and gestures all speak volumes, often more than words themselves. A smile, a nod, or a relaxed posture can foster warmth and connection, while crossed arms, avoiding eye contact, or a tense stance may create distance or defensiveness. Being aware of your own nonverbal cues and reading those of others allows you to align your message more effectively. It also helps you detect underlying emotions and respond with sensitivity. Mastering nonverbal communication enhances your ability to connect authentically and reduces misinterpretations. Empathy is a powerful ingredient in strong communication. It involves understanding and respecting the feelings and viewpoints of others, even if they differ from your own. When you communicate with empathy, you create a bridge of understanding and reduce barriers caused by judgment or misunderstanding. Empathy enables you to tailor your message to the needs and emotions of your audience, fostering cooperation and harmony. It helps you handle conflicts with grace, resolve disagreements constructively, and build deeper, more meaningful relationships. Communicating empathetically requires you to listen without interruption, validate feelings, and respond with kindness and honesty. Another key aspect of building strong communication skills is adaptability. Different situations and audiences require different communication styles. The way you speak to a close friend differs from how you present to a boardroom, and the way you write a quick email differs from how you conduct a formal negotiation. Being flexible in your approach, knowing when to be direct, when to be gentle, when to be concise, or when to elaborate, makes your communication more effective and appropriate. It shows emotional intelligence and respect for context. Adaptability also means being open to feedback and willing to adjust your style based on what works best for others. Confidence plays a critical role in communication as well. When you believe in the value of your message and trust your ability to deliver it, others are more likely to listen and be persuaded. Confidence is reflected in your posture, voice, and eye contact. It is not about arrogance or dominating the conversation, but about owning your ideas and expressing them with conviction. Developing confidence often requires practice, preparation, and learning to manage nervousness. As your communication skills improve, your confidence grows, creating a positive feedback loop that further enhances your effectiveness. Building strong communication skills also involves mastering the art of giving and receiving feedback. Constructive feedback helps others grow and improves collaboration, but it must be delivered thoughtfully to avoid defensiveness or misunderstanding. When giving feedback, focus on specific behaviors rather than personal traits, be clear and kind, and offer suggestions for improvement. When receiving feedback, listen openly, avoid defensiveness, and reflect on how you can grow. Cultivating this skill creates an environment of continuous learning and mutual respect, strengthening relationships and improving outcomes. Consistency and practice are essential to building lasting communication skills. Like any other skill, effective communication requires ongoing effort. Engaging in conversations, public speaking, writing, and active listening regularly helps you refine your abilities. Observing skilled communicators, seeking mentorship, and being open to self-reflection can accelerate your growth. Over time, you develop greater awareness of your strengths and areas for improvement, allowing you to communicate with increasing authenticity and impact. Ultimately, building strong communication skills empowers you to express your truth, connect with others deeply, and navigate the complexities of human interaction with grace. It enhances your personal and professional life, helping you create meaningful relationships, lead effectively, resolve conflicts, and inspire change. As you invest in your communication, you invest in your ability to influence your world positively and leave a lasting impact. The skills you build today become the foundation for a lifetime of meaningful connections and success. 11. Learn from failures. Learning from failures is one of the most powerful and transformative experiences a person can undergo. Failure is often seen as something to fear or avoid, but in truth, it is an essential part of growth, innovation, and success. Every failure carries within it invaluable lessons that can guide you toward improvement, resilience, and ultimately, achievement. When you learn from failures, you shift your perspective from seeing them as dead ends to viewing them as stepping stones, opportunities to reflect, adapt, and come back stronger. This mindset transforms setbacks from sources of discouragement into catalysts for personal and professional development. The first step in learning from failure is accepting it honestly and without denial. It can be tempting to blame others, circumstances, or bad luck when things go wrong. However, true growth begins when you take responsibility for your part in the outcome. This doesn't mean harsh self-criticism but rather a balanced and clear-eyed assessment of what happened. What decisions led to this result? What actions could have been different? What external factors influenced the situation? By examining these questions objectively, you gain clarity and start to uncover the root causes of failure instead of merely treating its symptoms. Reflection is crucial to extracting lessons from failure. Taking the time to pause, analyze, and understand your experience prevents you from repeating the same mistakes. It encourages deeper insight into your strategies, behaviors, and thought patterns. Reflection may involve journaling your thoughts, seeking feedback from trusted mentors, or discussing the experience with supportive peers. The goal is to move beyond emotional reactions like disappointment, shame, or frustration and toward constructive learning. This process helps you identify weaknesses to strengthen, blind spots to illuminate, and opportunities for innovation you hadn't considered before. Learning from failure also builds resilience, the ability to bounce back after setbacks with renewed energy and determination. Resilient people don't view failure as a reflection of their worth or potential. Instead, they see it as a natural part of the journey toward mastery. They understand that failure is temporary and that persistence, combined with thoughtful adjustment, leads to eventual success. This mindset helps you avoid becoming paralyzed by fear of failure and instead encourages experimentation, risk-taking, and creative problem-solving. Each failure becomes a lesson in endurance and a step closer to your goals. Another important aspect of learning from failure is cultivating humility and openness. Failure often humbles us by exposing our limitations, knowledge gaps, or flawed assumptions. Embracing this humility allows you to remain teachable and curious rather than defensive or closed off. It invites you to seek guidance, welcome diverse perspectives, and be willing to change course when necessary. This openness enriches your learning process and accelerates your growth. It transforms failure from a personal blow into a valuable teacher that pushes you toward greater self-awareness and skill development. Failure also sharpens your decision-making skills. Each unsuccessful attempt provides data that informs better choices moving forward. You learn to weigh risks more wisely, anticipate challenges more accurately, and develop contingency plans. Failure teaches you the importance of preparation, patience, and flexibility. It encourages you to be more deliberate and strategic rather than impulsive or reckless. Over time, these improved decision-making abilities increase your confidence and effectiveness, making future ventures more likely to succeed. Importantly, learning from failure fosters creativity and innovation. When you are not afraid to fail, you open yourself to new ideas and approaches that may initially seem unconventional or risky. Failure breaks the mold of routine thinking and forces you to explore alternative paths. Many of the world's greatest inventions and breakthroughs were born from repeated failures and relentless experimentation. Embracing failure as a natural part of the creative process frees you to push boundaries, challenge norms, and discover solutions that others might miss. Developing a supportive mindset toward failure also improves your emotional well-being. Instead of internalizing failure as a personal defect or permanent setback, you learn to treat yourself with compassion and patience. This reduces anxiety, stress, and self-doubt, creating a healthier relationship with challenges. You start to view failures as moments in time rather than defining moments, allowing you to maintain motivation and optimism even after disappointments. This emotional balance is key to sustaining long-term growth and fulfillment. Learning from failure is a lifelong journey. There will always be new challenges, risks, and unknowns, and each comes with the possibility of falling short. What matters most is how you respond. By embracing failure as a natural teacher, you cultivate a mindset of continuous improvement and adaptability. You develop the courage to take chances and the wisdom to learn quickly from mistakes. This ongoing cycle of trial, error, and growth builds a foundation for lasting success and personal transformation. In essence, learning from failure is about turning setbacks into setups for greater achievements. It means reframing failure not as a destination but as part of the journey. It requires honesty, reflection, resilience, humility, and creativity. When you master this mindset, failure loses its power to stop you and instead becomes a powerful force that propels you forward. You discover that the road to success is rarely straight or smooth but filled with lessons that shape you into a stronger, wiser, and more capable version of yourself. 12. Respect yourself and others. Respecting yourself and others is a foundational principle that shapes the quality of your relationships, your sense of self-worth, and the way you navigate the world. It is a deep acknowledgement of the inherent value and dignity that every human being holds, including yourself. Respect is not just about polite behavior or social etiquette. It is about recognizing boundaries, honoring differences, and treating everyone with fairness and kindness. When you cultivate respect for yourself and others, you create an environment of trust, understanding, and harmony, which fosters personal growth, connection, and mutual support. Respecting yourself begins with self-awareness and self-acceptance. It means valuing your own needs, feelings, and limits, and refusing to tolerate abuse, neglect, or disrespect from anyone, including yourself. Self-respect involves setting healthy boundaries, prioritizing your well-being, and making choices that align with your values and goals. When you respect yourself, you recognize that you deserve kindness, honesty, and care, and you refuse to settle for less. This internal respect forms the foundation for confidence and resilience. It empowers you to stand up for yourself, to pursue your aspirations, and to recover from setbacks with dignity. At the same time, respecting others requires empathy and humility. It calls for recognizing that everyone has their own experiences, perspectives, and struggles that shape who they are. Respect means listening without judgment, honoring differences without trying to change or control, and treating others with the same kindness you wish to receive. It means valuing people not just for what they can do for you, but simply because they are human beings worthy of dignity. Respectful behavior includes speaking kindly, honoring commitments, and showing gratitude. When you respect others, you foster trust and cooperation, making relationships stronger and more meaningful. Respect is also closely linked to fairness and justice. It involves treating people equitably, acknowledging their rights, and standing against discrimination or harm. When you uphold respect in your interactions, you contribute to creating communities and environments where everyone feels safe, valued, and empowered. This doesn't mean you must agree with everyone or avoid necessary confrontation, but it means engaging with others in a way that maintains their dignity and your integrity. Respectful communication and actions pave the way for constructive dialogue, conflict resolution, and shared growth. An essential part of respecting yourself and others is practicing forgiveness and patience. Everyone makes mistakes, including yourself. Respect allows room for imperfection without harsh judgment or resentment. When you forgive yourself for past errors, you free yourself from the burden of shame and guilt. When you extend forgiveness to others, you release anger and open the door for healing and reconciliation. Patience helps you accept that growth and change take time. It softens frustration and cultivates understanding, which strengthens bonds and deepens compassion. Respect also means taking responsibility for your impact on others. Your words and actions carry weight, and respecting others means being mindful of how you affect their feelings and well-being. It means choosing kindness over cruelty, honesty over deceit, and support over neglect. When you act with respect, you build a positive reputation and create environments where people feel valued and motivated. This ripple effect extends beyond immediate relationships to influence communities, workplaces, and society at large. On a deeper level, respecting yourself and others is a reflection of your values and character. It requires ongoing self-reflection to ensure that your attitudes and behaviors align with your beliefs about human dignity. It demands courage to confront prejudice, to stand against disrespectful behavior, and to advocate for fairness even when it's uncomfortable. Living with respect means being consistent, treating everyone with kindness and honor, regardless of their status, background, or how they treat you in return. This consistency builds integrity and earns genuine respect from others. Ultimately, respect is a powerful force that nurtures connection and peace. It dissolves barriers created by misunderstanding, fear, and ego. When you respect yourself and others, you participate in a cycle of mutual care that enriches your life and the lives of those around you. Respect creates a foundation for authentic relationships, effective collaboration, and personal fulfillment. It reminds us that at our core, we all share a common humanity deserving of kindness and dignity. By choosing respect, you not only honor others, you also honor the best within yourself.